LA is a lot bigger than you expect. It's 30 miles a zone, and like technically LA goes all the way down the county or the city, technically all the way down to Long Beach. And so if you search LA on like Zillow or something, you'll find places that are cheap, but they're actually like in Long Beach, and you're going to be spending 2 hours commuting, 3 hours commuting every day. So if you're going to want to try to find someplace central, or just try to find someplace in the valley that's cheaper, but not too far in the valley, because traffic is like the king of this city.
Mm-hmm.
So, Talon, where do you live?
So I live near the USC campus in South Central LA. So
South Central. Okay.
Yeah, so South Central, which is like north of Compton. So it's not like the best area, but it's way cheaper than any place else that I've ever seen. I paid less than most people I know.
Awesome.
So, which I'm okay with.
So each of you, just tell me where you guys live. So AJ, you said Burbank?
Yes, I will say when I moved out here, I lived in North Hollywood, because that felt like a really good, it's a little bit cheaper, but it's also like right next to Burbank, so it still has like a good kind of vibe to it. But yeah, now I'm in Burbank.
Okay, and which one do you like better, Burbank or North Hollywood?
Burbank, I would say.
Okay. And Kelly, where are you living? Where have you lived since you've been there?
So first I lived with Jamie for 2 weeks, and then I found housing through a Facebook group. I live here in Sherman Oaks with a roommate who has also been working in the industry as a freelance set dresser. So she's able to help me get my first gigs and everything like that. And now I work about a 10-minute commute down the street at my office building on Ventura in Sherman Oaks. And so I've got a small little world here, and I love the Valley. I love Sherman Oaks. I think it's the best start for someone from Michigan is to just be in the Valley and get used to living in a big city, because even if you're from Detroit, it's not similar.
And Jamie, how about you? Where have you lived?
I've actually lived in the same apartment for the past 5.5 years. So I live in North Hollywood. I moved out here with a fellow college friend, Michael Doak. We've been roommates for 5.5 years. So we live in North Hollywood, but we live in the Arts District of North Hollywood, which I'm basically on the corner of where Toluca Lake, Burbank, and North Hollywood meets. So it's very trendy now. It never used to be. It was not like this when we moved in.
Nice. And Scott, how about you?
Yeah, I lived in Burbank for a year. Burbank's fine. It's not all that great. It's fine. I think I lived in Los Feliz for like 6-7 years, and then I basically got priced out of the neighborhood because I've seen rent pretty much double. Everybody in my building got evicted. They flipped it, and then they about doubled the rent. So the thing is, the neighborhoods are constantly changing because of that, and you're seeing a lot of luxury apartments go up everywhere, which totally changes each neighborhood. Right now I live in Glendale, but it's always changing. And I think for me, the thing I learned was just getting here, finding a neighborhood, finding a decent apartment, and then you spend a year getting a lay of the land and figuring out where you are going to end up actually working, and where you end up working is going to dictate where you should live. Because I see a lot of job opportunities as a freelancer on the west side, and I do not take those because I don't want to spend 3 hours a day in my car. But if there was a job that I really loved that was over there, then I would move across the city potentially.
We're in a weird situation right now, like I said, with the pandemic, that there are reports of some rent dropping in areas. But it's not like my landlord's dropping my rent. Like, my rent's set. He's not going to change my rent. It's like the new luxury apartments that are going for a little cheaper. But rent in the past 5 years has skyrocketed in LA. It is ever changing, and it just completely goes up and up. And like Scott said, it also depends on the area you're in. One area can be super affordable, not a great area, and then in a couple years, now it's like the trendiest place to live. So it changes a lot. I'll give real numbers, I'm not ashamed. When I first moved out here, our rent, we have a 2-bedroom, 2-bath apartment in North Hollywood. Our rent was $1,500 for the 2-bedroom, 2-bath. It is not $1,500 anymore. It has gone up significantly over the years. We now pay $2,100. So that's for a 2-bedroom, 2-bath place in our area. Now I have central AC. I have 2 parking spots next to each other. I have tons of street parking. I live next to a taco stand. Like, I have a lot of great things that are reasons why mine is worth it. We have like 2 balconies. there are reasons why I'm okay paying that price. Also, I just don't feel like moving. But other places might, it really depends on your amenities. There are a lot of places in LA that don't come with refrigerators, so you have to buy a fridge, or they don't have AC. You have like one box AC or none at all. Or you have no parking, and your street also has no parking. So it varies. It just really depends on where you live and what you're looking for and what's really important to you. Like for me and my roommate were like, I want 2 bathrooms because we're a boy and a girl and I'm not sharing a bathroom with him. So that was really important to us. We could have found cheaper apartments with 1 bathroom or smaller ones or ones that had street parking, but we kind of had our list of demands that we were trying to meet. And obviously we settled for what we could get at the time, but it really depends on the area you're living in.
So talking about different areas, Callan, if you don't mind sharing real numbers.
Real numbers. So when I first moved, my rent has yet to go up since I moved here, which I'm so thankful for. I pay $1,700 is the total for 2-bedroom, 1 bathroom. And I live in South Central. And that's the cheapest that I've seen it when I first moved here. And also still now when I look at apartments. And I have AC and I have 2 parking spots, which is like the only things you ever need, but it didn't come with a fridge and all those things. But the way I was able to afford it is I didn't have as much savings as I thought I needed. I realized I needed because I was living in this apartment before I had a job for 5 months, blew through my savings paying rent. And so I ended up having someone sleep on the couch and live on the couch for like 6 months, 7 months, maybe more. And like it significantly lowered the rent so that they were paying like $500 a month just to live on a couch, which for them is like a great deal. But then it made my rent cheaper. And that's how you afford it, is you find ways to like make it affordable.
Right. So you all, I'm assuming, all have roommates. Is that correct?
Yeah. So I found my roommate, like I said, through a Facebook group. I started my search on a Friday and I found her on Sunday. And what's great about these Facebook groups is it's people looking for roommates because they've already have existing leases. They just want someone to fill a room. And they say how much it's going for. They list the amenities. You go over, you visit them. It's just the person itself. And you guys are gonna hate me, but my rent is $850 because I live in a rent-controlled apartment, and it's a master bedroom. Yeah. I love it. I super lucked out. Plus, I also found my roommate that way who works in the industry, and she was able to get me my first job and everything. But there is only street parking. And I had a pine cone fall in my car and break my windshield the other day. So it's not the best. You can tell that this apartment has not been renovated since the 60s when it was built, and that shows a lot. But I mean, it's in a good neighborhood, and I can live with old carpeting if it means my rent is $850. So that was worth it to me. Yeah.
Anyone else want to share your living situation? You don't have to give numbers if you're not comfortable.
Yeah, when I moved here, I lived in a 2-bedroom, 2-bath in Burbank with 2 Grand Valley alums. So it's 3 people with 2 bedrooms. One guy lived in the living room. It was $1,650 a month. I had a friend live in that same complex like 6-7 years later, and she was paying like $600 more a month, something like that. I moved 10 years ago. I moved to Los Feliz, and I got a studio apartment for $750. Now that apartment is probably $1,750 now. I can about guarantee you. So that's kind of the question of where to live and how much it costs. It's like I've seen the prices double. I live in Glendale now. I have a 2-bed, 2.5 bath townhouse, and it's $2,100. And that's a really good price right now. That's a really good price. If I still lived in Los Feliz for what I have, I would pay $2,500 to $3,000 a month easily.
I think that's a really good point to bring up also about apartments in LA. When you have roommates, your apartment's cheaper. Like a studio here could be almost just as much, like you'd be paying almost as much as if you were in a 2-bedroom with someone else. Like studios and 1-bedrooms are very expensive in LA because isn't that the dream to live alone? But it's in your best interest to get roommates as long as you can afford to.
All right.
Because I have friends who live in studios that are barely have a.
All right, AJ, what about you?
They barely have a kitchen. She's saying they barely have a kitchen.
Sorry.
Oh, okay, thank you.
There we go.
They barely have a kitchen, and they're paying like $1,200 for like one room with like a mini fridge.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's the other thing about these places. They're trying to sell a postage stamp for like $2,100. My situation, I was living in a place in North Hollywood first, and if you're squeamish, like, there was a situation. Sorry, there's a situation. I guess if we're gonna be real on this, our downstairs neighbors had roaches, and they came up to us. Yeah. So what Lewis and I did is we found a place in Burbank, and what Jamie said, where it was like you find something that's important to you. Hers was 2 bathrooms. Ours was 2-car parking. We wanted that so desperately that we found places that were like pretty good, but only had like 1-car parking and then street parking. We'd always go up and down the streets like, nah, this ain't gonna work. No, get out of here. And we lucked out in like, it was crazy because we found a place in Burbank, 2 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms, central air, 2-car parking underneath the structure, like full carpet. We brought our refrigerator over from North Hollywood, and we pay $1,850 a month.